This video is going to talk about how to add mixed numbers. Just like with adding regular fractions, your number one rule is to find a common denominator. The least common denominator is the least common multiple of the denominators. Your steps for adding mixed numbers are to find a least common denominator. Then find the equivalent fraction with that least common denominator. After that, you will add your fractions to fractions and whole numbers to whole numbers. And then lastly, you will simplify your answer. Let's do an example. Your first step is to find a least common denominator. So we are going to rewrite this problem. We're going to rewrite our whole numbers, and we're going to make, that's a 10, sorry. We're going to rewrite our whole numbers, and we are going to make fraction bars, because we have to find a common denominator. If you cannot find a common denominator in your head, it's fine. It is the least common multiple. So you count by twos, and then you count by fives, and you find the smallest one that they share. That becomes your denominator. Then you are going to find your equivalent fractions with that 10 as your denominator. How are you going to change a 2 into a 10? You would multiply it by 5. If you do it to the bottom, you have to do it to the top, making your new numerator a 5. To change a 5 into a 10, you're going to multiply by 2. Again, if you do it to the bottom, you have to do it to the top, giving you a 6. This is an addition problem. So your next step says that you're going to add fraction to fraction. Just like with regular fractions, you add the numerators and your denominator stays the same. Then you add whole number to whole number, which gives you 21. This is an improper fraction, which means we are going to knock it over and divide. 10 goes into 11 one time with 1 left over. The quotient becomes your whole number, the remainder becomes your numerator, and the divisor becomes your denominator. So you already had 21, and this turns into 1 1/10, making your final answer 22 1/10. Okay, let's have you try one. Pause the video and try this problem, and then when you're done, hit play and see if you did all the steps correctly. Again, our first step is to find a common denominator. If you don't know the common denominator, you find the least common multiple of your denominators. Count by twos, count by tens. The least common denominator is the smallest one they share. Then you are going to rewrite your problem and find equivalent fractions with that denominator. You don't have to do anything to a 10 to turn it into a 10, so you just copy it. To change a 2 into a 10, you multiply by 5. If you do it to the bottom, you must do it to the top. Then you add your fractions to your fractions, giving you a 6 over 10, and whole number to whole number, making it a 10. This is not your final answer. This fraction is not in simplest form. To put your fraction in simplest form, you divide by the GCF, or greatest common factor, of the numerator and denominator. If you don't know what the GCF is, you can use a rainbow to find it. You list all your factors of 6, and then you list all your factors of 10. The GCF is going to be the greatest one that they share. It is a 2, so you're going to divide by 2. If you do it to the top, You have to do it to the bottom. That makes your final answer 10 3/5.